Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So this is a follow-up video to the one I made yesterday. And if you want to follow real news and real predictions, you know this is the channel to go to because I have said that Trump is not going to attack Iran. While everyone on Twitter, if you go on Twitter yesterday, everyone was saying that, oh, Trump's about to attack Iran, planes are flying, they're going to attack any moment. But I knew Trump was not going to attack Iran. And today I've been proved correct because Trump has again backed down or he's done a taco. Or has he really done a taco? Was this really the plan? Because I don't think Trump is stupid enough to attack Iran, especially after what happened last time. Is he really ready to have a regional war with Iran? I don't think so, especially with America's debt problem. You know, there is no way Trump will start another war, especially now. However, there will be a war with Iran, further down the line, and it could be next week, it could be end of the week. I don't think America will attack Iran. I think it's going to be Israel. Israel will probably start something. I think Israel was really pushing Trump to start something with Iran, and Trump basically backed down. And I'm going to give you the reasons why he backed down as well. It's not just the fact that America is in massive debt, but I think it's also something to do with China. Chinese cargo planes landed in Iran yesterday, and there's speculation that there was some military hardware, especially radars that can pick up F-35 planes, and also the latest anti-aircraft missiles and things like that. I'll get into that. But Trump is a very shrewd businessman, right? And he knows starting a war with Iran is not good for business. The oil prices are just going to shoot up, and that's going to bring up more inflation to the American lives, and interest rates, instead of going down, will start going up. The Fed will start raising interest rates. So this is something Trump does not want, especially now. I mean, there is no reason to start a war with Iran right now because at the end of the day, we're not talking about weapons of mass destruction style propaganda with Iraq. I mean, when they started a war with Iraq, things were different then. America was in a good place financially. They were very powerful. They had lots of money. They had money to burn. They were the most powerful country in the world. They had plenty of allies, and they were egging for war at that point. And but things are different now. Now they have to think twice before starting another major war because it's going to have huge consequences to the financial system of the United States. And they don't have the backing like they did in the Iraq War. If you remember the Iraq War, everyone was, egging to fight Iraq, from the press, from the people. I remember back then, everybody was, clamoring, clamoring to attack Iraq. I mean, obviously, there were like millions of people who were anti-war and were doing demonstrations, but nobody cares about them, right? The same people were demonstrating against the genocide in Palestine. Nobody listens to them. Nobody cares about them. It's only about what the media says, what what the Congress says. The military industrial complex. Things like that. The people that make decisions end of the day. So Trump basically backed down. He did tackle, but I do think there's an attack coming on Iran because as it stands, they cannot allow Iran to grow stronger because every year Iran grows stronger because they are getting more money from oil. Their production is increasing in oil. I think current production is about 3.5 million barrels per day or something like that. And that is going up every single day that goes up. China is investing a lot in Iran. Russia's investing a lot in Iran. So Russia, Iran will only get stronger, and they are becoming self-sufficient. One thing sanctions does to a country, you become very much self-sufficient. You don't have to buy technology and goods from other countries. You are basically forced to build it yourself. And this is one of the reasons why China became very powerful, because if you guys remember, there was a big you- you- embargo against China in the 80s. I'm not going to say why, because it's all propaganda in the day. But there was a major embargo against China. No country was allowed to sell arms to China. So what did China do? They built their own arms. They built their own defense military industrial complex for China. They built their own, planes, submarines, weapons, you name it, tanks, everything is in house. China did. Then they banned China from the International Space Station. So what did China do? They built their own space station, and now they have their own space program. Then they banned China from semiconductors. And what did China do? They built their own semiconductors. And now they are fast catching up to Western semiconductors. And they have their own semiconductor industry. Point of the matter is, if you are sanctioned, you are forced as a country to build your own, technology without relying on the West. But one advantage Iran has is they don't have to buy, advanced technology from the US anymore. They have China and they have Russia, right? And China will sell it to them and Russia will sell it to them. So they don't have to go through the same journey that China went through. When China went through it, nobody helped them. Nobody, even when they built nuclear weapons, nobody helped them when they built their own nuclear weapons, because Russia didn't help at that point. So as a country, Iran has plenty of advantages. They have oil, they have natural resources, they have plenty of gas. They have countries like China and Russia who will sell them weapons and they'll sell them technology. So Iran has plenty of advantages that China didn't have, and Russia even didn't have even. And so I believe Iran will take full advantage, and they will become stronger and stronger every single day. They will make more oil sales. They will make more gas sales. They are building the infrastructure in the country, and China's helping them build infrastructure. They have a train line going from Iran all the way to China, which avoids the sea route, and they are transferring oil and other things through there. And and Iran will get strong 5 years, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. They'll be completely self-sufficient. They won't need any Western technology whatsoever. And this is what the West is scared of. This is what Israel is scared of. So if they do nothing, Iran will become completely self-sufficient. They'll be extremely powerful, and they'll be like China, like Russia, but they'll be the superpower of the Middle East. Because if you compare it to all the other Middle Eastern countries, like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, and Qatar, all of these countries are dependent on American technology. All of them, they're all puppets, American puppets. All the military comes from America. They make nothing in-house, guys. Nothing. Everything is basically bought. They have no manufacturing. They have no industry whatsoever, apart from selling oil and gas. So Iran will change that. Iran not only will sell oil and gas, they will have their own manufacturing. They will have their own industries, and I think that's what they're scared of. So once Iran reaches that level, then there's no stopping Iran, because all of their weapons will be in-house, all of their technology, manufacturing. And when Iran gets to that level, they will be at a superpower status. And we're talking about, it's still early days, but, give it another 10, 20 years and you'll see. They have the population, and Iranians are very intelligent as well. So, only thing missing is nuclear weapons. And I think if Iran gets nuclear weapons, they will be unstoppable. Nobody will be able to bully them. I know I made this argument yesterday. There's certain people on social media saying, "Oh, Iran doesn't need nuclear weapons." Look, guys, the facts show that if you have nuclear weapons, you are left alone. You do not get bullied. Look at Russia. If Russia didn't have nuclear weapons, all the Europeans and NATO would have ganged up and attacked Russia. If China didn't have nuclear weapons, they would have been attacked by the West and Japan, South Korea, all the American puppets, and China would have been divided. If North Korea didn't have any weapons, the Americans would have gone in by now and destroyed North Korea. The fact is, if you have nuclear weapons, it stops other countries from bullying you, attacking you, and even pushing for regime change and things like that. Also, having nuclear weapons, it gives so many advantages to you as a country because you are protected by nuclear weapons. Other countries will not bully you. And that also means that you can develop as a country as well. You do not have to put as much emphasis on your military because your nuclear weapons will be a deterrent in itself. So you as a country can develop without worrying about wars and things like that and spending countless money on military and defense and things like that. You will have nuclear weapons to protect you. This is what North Korea has done. They've built nuclear weapons and they've been left alone all these years, and they have slowly been developing. Nobody talks about North Korean famines anymore, or all the money going into military and not enough on the people. If you look at North Korea right now, it's actually quite well developed, and they're doing quite well. However, like I said, the Israelis and the West, they cannot allow Iran to develop, and because this is part of the whole greater Israel project. They want Israel to be the superpower of the region, and they see Iran as a big threat. So they cannot allow that to happen at any cost. But China and Russia think otherwise because they believe that Iran is a very counter to Israeli kind of expansion, because Israelis, they want to expand throughout Middle East. You've seen the Greater Israel Project. They want to take parts of Syria, they want to take parts of Saudi Arabia, and they want to take parts of Iraq. They want to grow. They want to take all the oil fields. They want to become a regional superpower. But the Arabs, Muslims, and the Shia of Iran, they're not going to allow that to happen. And Russia and also China know this as well, because Israel growing as a superpower in the region is also a threat to China, is also a threat to Russia, and they know that because they are entirely evil. They are hell bent on world domination, and they want to turn everyone into slaves. Goyim as they're called. Anyway, so what made Trump change his mind? Trump was very much talking about war, attacking Iran, and stuff like that. So there was a secret Chinese plane that, or not one plane, but quite a few planes that landed in Iran. This was after Iranian airspace was shut down. So Iranians had shut down the airspace, and Chinese cargo planes basically landed in Iran. So there's speculation that these were anti-radar, anti F-35's radar, and these brand new radar systems can pick out F-35 planes and jets, stealth jets. Well, this would have been a huge problem for America and Israel because they use F-35 jets and they rely on stealth. Uh, and if this radar picks them up, then that's a big problem. And also, let's talk about China giving them the latest. They're called Honki or Hongqi um, anti-aircraft systems, and they would have been like a real danger to American F-35s and Israeli F-35s as well. Because if the latest radar can pick them up, and the latest anti-Chinese anti-aircraft Chinese weapons can pick them up and shoot at them, then there would have been lots of losses for them, and that would have been very embarrassing for Israel as well as America. So I think it made them think twice before attacking, and I think this was one of the issues. However, I do think that there may be an attack coming over the next few weeks, but Israel will probably do it, not America. And I say this because you have the American fleet going from the South China Sea going all the way to Persian Gulf, and that's going to take maybe 2 weeks. Maybe that will take. And you see lots of, bases being emptied in Qatar and other places as well. And these people are being redeployed. I think that's going to take like a week or two. So there could be an attack coming, guys. I think once the aircraft carrier and the fleet is near the Persian Gulf, and I think Israel may attack. And those fleets and in the Persian Gulf, I think they are going to be there to basically take out Iranian drones and missiles and things like that that fly towards Israel. I think they're going to use them to shoot those down, and also all the bases that are being emptied around Iran. I think there's going to be a major war that might start by Israel. And America's going to just be there to protect Israel. And I don't think America will attack. I think Israel will probably do most of the attacking. And I think America will provide Israel with intelligence, with weapons, and things like that, similar to what they do with Ukraine. And I think that war is probably going to last for a long time. And it could end up even in nuclear war unless Iran gets a nuclear bomb themselves, or unless Russia or China gives Iran a nuclear bomb, or even Pakistan. If Pakistan gives Iran a nuclear bomb, or North Korea, they say, take this, use it to defend yourself. So if that happens, then Israel will not attack using nuclear weapons, and they will just do it conventionally. They're going to be flying in and out, throwing bombs. They're going to be pushing for regime change. They're going to be arming militants, Kurdish militants, and other militants from Balochistan, and they're going to use them to basically attack Iran as well. So I think there's going to be a long war. Um, it's going to be starting soon, but I don't know when. Could be next week, could be the week after. But I think it's going to be dependent on the American fleet arriving in the Persian Gulf. So there seems to be a lot of fake news coming out of Iran, namely about lots of deaths, like rioters being killed and things like that. The numbers are saying like it started with 70 to 100, then it went on to 1,000, then it went to 2,000, and then they started reporting 7,000, and now they're reporting like 30,000. Absolutely crazy. It just keeps going up and up and up in crazy numbers. So where are these numbers coming from? So obviously it's coming from lots of, you know, human rights groups like Amnesty International. But there's one particular human rights group called the Center for Human Rights in Iran. However, this is not based in Iran. This group is based in New York. And the person who's in charge of running this was actually the same person who was doing anti-China and anti-Russia propaganda. So her name is Minky Warden, and she was basically pushing for the Beijing Olympics to be cancelled, and she wanted to call it the Genocide Olympics. That's what she wanted to do, and she wanted to get it cancelled. And she was the main reason why many world leaders had basically sanctioned the Beijing Olympics. If you remember, all the Western leaders did not turn up in the Beijing Olympics. They all basically boycotted it, and also all the advertising agencies and all Western brands just didn't pay money to it. Didn't invest in it. Didn't put any money into it. They basically boycotted everything. Everything was boycotted because of her. She was also very instrumental in the false or fake Uyghur stories as well. And so that's what she does. She basically pushing all these anti-Chinese, anti-Russian, anti-Iranian propaganda, and all the other, human rights agencies basically follow her and follow her findings and numbers and things like that. So she's the main one. followed by all these other aid groups that follow her. But if you think about it, guys, do, do any of them say, or did any of them say anything when there's a genocide going on in Palestine? No, guys, no, absolutely zero. No articles, they didn't say anything, they didn't do anything, complete silence. So when there's a real genocide going on, oh, we don't want to know, we can't talk about it, or complete silence. But when there's fake stuff going on around the world, oh, we start suddenly, they kick in, and obviously they're funded by the NED and other, regime change organizations, and suddenly they care about human rights. Basically, Americans and the West have been using human rights as a weapon only when it suits them, not about real human rights. These are basically weapons to be used against countries and regimes, and they use it to start riots and incitements and regime change. That's what they do, and so I wanted to kind of share that with you guys. Anyway, that's all for today. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.